Hi guys, it's me ChazzaHD and welcome to the first practice session of this weekend's 2022 Monaco Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys are doing well. It's currently hot and sunny where I am and also very hot and sunny at the Monaco track. So no doubts about the weather for today's practice. Hopefully we're going to see some interesting lap times, hopefully some surprises as well that could get us excited for qualifying. Of course, the biggest qualifying session of the season, every season, is around Monaco. So, yeah, hopefully we see some surprises to get us very excited for tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully, no matter what time it is in your part of the world, no matter what part of the world you're from, hopefully you're having the best day possible you can be having. And yeah, we've got, 13 and a half minutes to go until practice one gets underway. And I'll just quickly, before I get into talking about what I expect quickly again from the teams coming into this weekend, which I obviously talked about last night, but for anyone who missed it, I'll talk about it quickly again in a moment. Just going to quickly get into the championship standings. So, here is the Drivers' Championship standings. Max Verstappen, currently in P1. He took the lead in Spain after his 25 points for a win, with Charles Leclerc, of course, not finishing the race after leading. That's why Verstappen is now in the lead by 6 points. Sergio Perez now in third. And then you've got Russell in fourth, Sainz fifth, and then Hamilton, Norris, Bottas, Ocon, and then Magnussen. That's your top 10. And then the Constructors' standings, Red Bull now lead by 26 points, from Ferrari in second, and then Mercedes third, McLaren fourth, but Alfa Romeo and Alpine behind, starting to close the gap, so it's getting nice and close between those three teams. And then AlphaTauri seventh, Haas eighth, Aston Martin ninth, and Williams in 10th. And I'll have to reset the timer quickly because it's reset, because obviously I cut away from the screen, so I'll just quickly put it back up now. That's pretty much the approximate of how much we have to go until the session itself. But yeah, those are the championship standings, and I'll now cut to the pictures that you'll be seeing in this stream. Not until practice 2, guys, will you be able to, or will I be able rather, to display the pictures of the cars around the track, because of course we've had no running so far this weekend. So yeah, once we get to practice 2, there'll be enough pictures out there that I'll be able to put some pictures on screen of the cars around the Monaco Grand Prix track, but you'll have to unfortunately cope with just the drivers yesterday as they arrived at the circuit. I'm actually just going to quickly mute my mic because I just need to quickly blow my nose. I did only wake up about, an hour and a half ago, so I've got a bit of a cold, so let me just quickly deal with that, and then I'll be back with you guys. Right, so hopefully that should be better, at least for now. I will probably have to mute myself a couple times during this stream, just to quickly blow my nose. But, yeah, like I said with the pictures, I'll get the pictures of the cars properly around the track for practice 2. Now, with just over 10 minutes to go, let me now get into the teams and how I think they'll do, or how I think they're going to look most likely, obviously in practice 1 and practice 2 today, but also in general for the weekend. So, starting with the top teams, I think Ferrari will be the quickest team. I just think they have, the best car suited really for this circuit. We saw in Spain, even though Max Verstappen was very quick in the Red Bull car, especially in qualifying. Hold on, just got to sneeze. Back in a moment. Oh, there you go. Oh, hold on. Got to do it again. God, my nose is playing havoc. Basically, as soon as I start talking, my nose is like crying out to sneeze. Anyway, With Ferrari, yeah, Ferrari should have the best car this weekend. Their car does go well around a track like this. We saw in Spain, especially in the second and especially the final sector in Barcelona with all the slow corners, that they just do have the best car for those types of corners. Plenty of those type of corners here in Monaco, of course, especially in the final sector and the first half of the middle sector. So I would be very surprised if Red Bull, say, had the quicker car over Ferrari. It's still going to be close in qualifying, don't get me wrong, and even in practice today, it won't be, Ferrari miles out in front because, one, the track, the lap itself is not that long, so you do tend to get closer gaps in Monaco than you would do normally. But also, because Max is so good and so quick around this track, and the Red Bull car is still pretty good, he is still going to be close enough to fight for the first position in practice, or the practice sessions, and of course in qualifying as well. And certainly be close enough to the point that if Leclerc or Sainz, whoever the quickest Ferrari driver is, it will probably be Charles Leclerc. If any of them make, enough of a mistake or don't quite get enough out their car on a single lap, Verstappen will be close enough that he'll be able to still probably get pole position if, a Ferrari driver doesn't quite get the best out of themselves or the car, or, just makes a mistake in general. So, yeah, it's going to be a close fight still to a certain extent, but I think the fastest team should be Ferrari, and I think Charles Leclerc definitely, when it comes to pole position, is the favourite for that. Of course, last year got pole position for the Ferrari team. Last year at the Monaco Grand Prix, I'd probably say Ferrari had the second quickest car. I know people will say, well, they were first and fourth in qualifying last year, but Verstappen was on a very quick lap on the final lap of qualifying last year, and probably, if he didn't make a mistake, Verstappen, obviously he didn't make a mistake, but if Leclerc had not caused the red flag and Max had continued his lap without making a mistake, then I think Max would have got pole position there. And Red Bull's race pace as well, I thought, was very, very strong. So they were very strong here last year, and of course their car this year is much better in comparison to everybody else. So they should be very, very strong. And then, like I said, Red Bull will be in there fighting as well with Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez will probably be fighting with the two Mercedes and maybe Carlos Sainz with the Ferrari. Does depend on how Sainz responds to what happened at his home Grand Prix a week ago. It also does depend on, how quick the Ferrari car is in reality. If it is as quick as I think, then he should still be competitive with Sainz, but if it's a bit quicker than I expect, then that might be a bit too difficult of an ask. But Perez definitely will be competitive for a podium this weekend, but I don't think really you can expect Perez to be any more competitive than third place in this weekend's Grand Prix. Really, the same would have to go for Carlos Sainz. And then after that, and not even necessarily after that, you've got Mercedes, who will be fighting for the podium. Their car is definitely quick enough to get a podium, and their two drivers are definitely good enough to drag themselves up to that position. But they do lack a bit of speed in the slow corners, as we saw in Barcelona, certainly in the final sector where, the final sector in Barcelona, which is pretty much mostly slow corners, they were lacking a lot of speed compared to Ferrari and Red Bull. So I think they might struggle in certain parts of the lap, Mercedes, but because of the shorter lap and because other parts of the track will suit them, they should still be competitive for the podium. So watch out for the team Mercedes, and also watch out for Valtteri Bottas, because I think if the Alfa Romeo really performs well around this track, hopefully it does, but also Valtteri Bottas can keep up his current form and can do this weekend what he's been able to do so many times in his career, which is produce fantastic single lap speed, then I think Valtteri can absolutely be up there and maybe, be in the top 5, top 6 on the grid on Saturday. So we'll see what he can do. I'm going to quickly just blow my nose again. As you guys can probably hear, my nose is a bit blocked, so I'll quickly do that, and then we'll get to the rest of the teams. Right, that should be okay, at least for the next 5 minutes. And yeah, for the rest of the teams, I think you'll have McLaren, I think, will be up there, kind of. Certainly with Lando Norris, I think you'll see Norris probably in the top 10. Ricciardo, hopefully, will show some better speed than he showed last year. Last year, the Monaco Grand Prix, he was pretty bad and at times pathetic, even, you could argue, in last year's Monaco Grand Prix. And then you've got Alpine. Obviously, they've got two very good drivers, especially around this track. We'll see what they can do. Alpine should be in there for the fight, but I'm not sure they'll be as strong around this circuit as, say, they were in Miami or other tracks this season. Haas also, I think, will be in there, certainly with Kevin Magnussen, who has had some good qualifying sessions here in the past. 2014, I think he qualified 6th here, or 7th, or something like that, in the McLaren. And then, I think 2017, he had a decent qualifying session. 2019 here, he qualified 5th with a slightly broken front wing, I remember. An amazing effort by Kevin that day. So, watch out for Magnussen as well, not just in qualifying, but of course today in practice 1 and practice 2 for a single lap speed. And also, we will see what Mick Schumacher, can do. This should be a circuit where, you know, not just with him, but all the drivers, where we get to see how good they really are as a driver. It really is a driver's circuit. There's plenty of circuits on the calendar that are driver circuits, you know, like Monaco, Silverstone, Spa. I wouldn't necessarily say Monza, because I think that's more to do with the straight line speed of the cars. Singapore, I'd say, is a driver's circuit. Suzuka. Yeah, I'd say those are the real types of drivers' circuits. Maybe Hungary you could put in there as well, that we have on the calendar. And also Montreal, that's another one that we're going to, thankfully, in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, I think. But, yeah, this is a driver's circuit where the best drivers tend to separate themselves from the less good, let's say. And hopefully, Mick will show us this weekend that he is absolutely, clearly good enough to be in Formula 1. He should have decent speed, but I'm just hoping this weekend he can get a good qualifying position of, you know, an 8th or a 9th would be ideal if he was to finish in the points, and then, you know, end up coming through to finish in the points. For some reason, the Sky F1 broadcast is really fucked up. I don't know why that is. But the air temperature, by the way, is 29 degrees Celsius at the track. It's currently 2 p.m. almost local time, so very hot at the Monaco track. And we've got, what, just under 2 minutes to go. And then, yeah, AlphaTauri, I don't think will be that competitive. Maybe Gasly might, you know, might cause a bit of a surprise, because we know he has been here, or been very good here in the past. Finished 6th here last year and was very, very strong. So, yeah, we'll see what he can do. And then you have, after that, who do you have? Aston Martin. I mean, Sebastian Vettel should be decent this weekend, given that he's always been pretty good around Monaco, but it depends really on where the car is at and how close it is to, say, the teams ahead of them, as to whether he can get a points finish. Of course, last year, he put in one of the best performances of the last few years of his career, I think, in finishing 5th in the Aston Martin. And then after that, you have Williams, who, yeah, Williams should be at the back. The only way Albon, I think, could get any higher than, you know, at the back of the grid is really if there is, you know, some changeable weather this weekend. But I think we'll get now the graphics ready for you guys for the start of the session. Of course, the running order on the left-hand side of the screen is not the live order. And I'll just quickly get the timer ready as well. Of course, every practice session in Formula 1 is an hour long. And as soon as I can sync up the timer to the exact time it is on screen, I'll make sure to do so. I'm going to quickly, though, again, just blow my nose, and then we'll get to the rest of, or get into, actually, the session itself. Right, that should be better for a few minutes. But yeah, no sign at the moment that the session... I think the session has started, but I don't think there's anyone who's gone out on track yet. So like I said, once the timer pops up on screen, then I'll make sure to sync it up when I can. I think, looking at the TV screen in the Mercedes garage, I think the TV broadcast is still fucked up. So I don't think they're going to show the actual session yet, because the actual coverage is a bit messed up on the Sky F1 side of things. So we're just currently watching, I think, is it Lewis Hamilton getting belted into his Mercedes car? I think it is. Yeah, it is. Hopefully he'll be out in a couple minutes, and hopefully the F1 broadcast would have sorted out any problems that they've got going on. The session has started. I can see it in the background. They've got it on, and there are cars on circuit, but I just think the F1 broadcast might be a bit messed up. No, looks as though it's fixed itself now. Yes, it has, thankfully. So in about a minute from now, I'll sync up the timer to 58 minutes. So the session is underway. First session of the weekend. Great to be back in Monaco. Many want this Grand Prix to disappear from the calendar. I completely disagree. Formula 1 is not all about overtaking. It's also about, you know, seeing these drivers take on the amazing challenge of trying to get insanely quick lap times out of this circuit whilst dancing their way through or past the walls. And certainly from a driver's perspective, they will not want the Monaco Grand Prix to disappear from the calendar, because it is the ultimate challenge for these drivers. But I'll sync up the timer in about 10 seconds from now. Charles Leclerc is on track, by the way, for any Ferrari or Leclerc fans. And 3, 2, 1. And there you go. And I'll just reposition it. There you go. The 58 minutes to go in practice 1. No lap times yet on the board, as looks as though Charles Leclerc is going to wind up and start a lap. He's on the medium compound tyre, so I don't expect it to be that quick. By the way, good afternoon to everyone, or good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. To everyone in the chat who is, and everyone who is watching in general. Just wanted to read out this comment from Dylan Forrester, who says, I've been having an awful couple days, lost a family member, and my girlfriend cheated on me, but your streams really help take my mind off things. Thank you, Chaz. I feel very sorry for you, honestly. That is absolutely soul-destroying, honestly. As Leclerc there getting horribly blocked by an Alfa Romeo on hard tyres. Looks like it was Zhou Guanyu, I think. Or no, it might have been Valtteri Bottas, actually. But yeah, that's really hard to hear. Honestly, I can't even imagine that happening to me. I mean, if that happened to me, I probably would have to take just a sabbatical from life, to be honest. You know, for quite a bit of time. But yeah, if my streams make you feel better, then, you know, absolutely no problem there. Hopefully, I can make you feel better in any way, shape, or form, and give you an escape or a release, which hopefully for anyone else out there, as actually they've sped up the timer for some reason on the screen. Don't know why that is. They've sped it up a couple minutes. What was I going to say? Yeah, hopefully for anyone watching, hopefully, you know, my streams, if you are having a difficult time, hopefully my streams and what I do does give you some sort of release for whatever you're going through. I know sometimes for me, whenever I've gone through a difficult period in life, it's, you know, doing this has given me a release from whatever's going on in my, I guess, real world. By the way, there are lap times being set. I just want to sync the timer up properly, though, in a few seconds' time, and then I'll start fiddling around with the order. So just bear with, as we've already got about 15 times on the board. Everything, or every one moving up and down all over the place. As we're currently looking at Charles Leclerc on the medium compound tyre, and he's done 2 purple sectors, and 3, 2, 1, and there you go. 55 minutes to go in this session. Charles Leclerc goes P1 on a 1 minute 17.9. A very quick lap time out of the blocks, considering it's only the first, you know, proper lap he's done of his, you know, weekend so far. So it's Norris in second, and then you've got Lance Stroll in third place, and then Zhou Guanyu is up to fourth. Hamilton is in fifth. And then we've got Daniel Ricciardo in sixth. Carlos Sainz, by the way, is on a timed run, so we'll see what he does. As Alex Albon goes up to fourth. There you go. And Carlos Sainz actually goes 0.8 of a second quicker than his teammate Charles Leclerc and goes P1, so Ferrari already banging in the times straight away. So it's already a Ferrari 1-2 from Norris, Stroll, and then you've got Tsunoda now up in 5th place, as here comes a McLaren of Lando Norris, who now goes up to second and does a purple final sector. Like I said, McLaren should be pretty strong this weekend, because normally in the speed traps around the last couple Grand Prix, they've been one of the worst teams, one of the slowest teams. So they should cope pretty well with this track. And Daniel Ricciardo, as I say that, goes P1 for McLaren. And here we're looking at Max Verstappen, who is currently 18th. It's, yeah, Ricciardo currently in P1 from Sainz, Norris, and then it is Alonso in third position, as Max Verstappen comes to the line for his first proper timed run on the hard compound tyre and does a very impressive 1:16.5, as for some reason F1's broadcast is messing up again. They're having some sort of technical difficulties around some parts of the track for some reason, as Leclerc is on another very quick run here. Just need to, hold on, make sure I get the order correct. So Max Verstappen is up to P1. Not anymore though, because Charles Leclerc is now up to P1 as he goes 0.4 of a second quicker. So it's currently Leclerc from Verstappen, and then Norris third, Ricciardo fourth, and then Sainz fifth, Alonso sixth, Stroll seventh, and then Perez is in 8th place, with Hamilton in 9th, Albon is 10th, and then you've got Tsunoda 11th, Esteban Ocon goes into 12th, and then it's Zhou Guanyu in, well, it was 13th, but now Pierre Gasly goes up to 8th place. So yeah, it's then Ocon 13th, Zhou 14th, and then Magnussen 15th, Vettel 16th, as Tsunoda comes to the line and improves his lap time, Tsunoda, but stays in P12. As here we're looking at Lewis Hamilton, who's just now going through the middle of the tunnel. He's done an improved first sector, thankfully, as Sebastian Vettel has just jumped up to 11th place. Just trying to make sure I get the rest of the order correct. And I have. So there you go. Oh, no, not totally, because Carlos Sainz is now up to the second position as the F1 broadcast is having real technical difficulties. I don't know if it's something underground, obviously under the street, that is making the cable lines mess up or something, but it keeps glitching at times, does the F1 broadcast. But Lewis Hamilton just completed a lap, but I didn't see where he went. And it looks as though, yeah, they've their broadcast, other than the onboard cameras, is not working. So, not just the F1 teams that suffer with reliability problems, also FOM themselves, as we're currently looking at Max Verstappen. Now we're looking at Carlos Sainz, who is on a flying lap. I think he's just finishing a flying lap. Don't know where he went, as we can't see the running order, unfortunately. But yeah. Again, sorry that I can't update the order constantly at the moment, because one, it's moving about very quickly, but also they're having issues, FOM, with their broadcast for some reason. As Lewis Hamilton, with his lap, by the way, went up to 5th place. As Charles Leclerc returns to P1 on a 1:15.8. I've got to say, Max Verstappen, I know it's only practice 1 and we're only 10 minutes in to the first session, but to be only 4 tenths off Leclerc on the hard tyre, that's a pretty impressive time so far from Max Verstappen. As Sky F1 now go to an ad break, so I'll leave the running order as it is until we come back from the ad break. But, yeah, for Dylan, yeah, hopefully I can try and make you feel better, and hopefully your difficult time does pass. All dark times pass eventually, so just know that. Let me just move this picture into a better position. There you go. Charles Leclerc, even the acclaim from the fans. Mr. Young Hegalian, I think it is, says the biggest gap in terms of performance between teammates is easily the Alfa Romeo team. Zhou is too slow. Yeah, the gap is quite big. I think I never expected, to be honest, Zhou Guanyu to come into this season and have like an amazing season. Because I don't think he's as good as other drivers we've seen in the last few years who have come in and had a good first year. But also, I wasn't expecting much, considering Alfa Romeo as a team have been pretty poor for most of the last 8 years. So I wasn't expecting that much. But I don't think he's had that bad of a season. He's not maximised what he can do. He can definitely do better, for sure. And there's been a couple races where I think he definitely was a bit too slow. But in other races, I thought he was fine. But, a couple times suffered from bad luck. So, yeah. Hopefully this weekend, given it's obviously a track that he has raced around, hopefully it will be a bit of a better weekend for him. It should be. He should eventually start to show some strong pace, Zhou, because he's definitely got talent. It's just, what do you call it? He just hasn't got the confidence yet, I don't think. And just quickly looking at Twitter, by the way, to see if there's any news. And can't see anything on Twitter at the moment. And yeah, once we come back from the ad break on Sky F1, which should be in like the next 30 seconds or so, then I'll make sure to update the order, because I'm sure it'll be completely different by the time we come back from the ad break. I will say, though, one thing I do like about the scheduling they've done for Friday practice now is because now they do the driver interviews and press conferences on Friday morning, and the practice sessions are left to the afternoon. What it means is now practice 1 is also a lot more representative of a session. And it's a lot closer to practice 2 in its representative running because it's held in more representative temperatures. Because normally practice 1 will be held like first thing in the morning where it's, you know, way cooler than it's going to be for the race or qualifying. And it didn't really matter that much. But because it's now held in more representative temperatures, I think we're getting then a better idea of where the teams are at straight away. And it's, of course, better for the teams and drivers in that sense. So I do like that they've done it that way. It does, I think, make it better. Certainly. Certainly. As we are back from the ad break, by the way. And Carlos Sainz is now P1 by 1,000th of a second from Charles Leclerc second. Max Verstappen is third. Sergio Perez is fourth. Lando Norris is fifth. Well, he was, but his teammate decided to go into fourth place to Daniel Ricciardo. Charles Leclerc is on the medium compound tyre and is on another flying lap. And then it's Perez fifth, Norris sixth, Hamilton seventh, and then Gasly is up to eighth, with Magnussen in ninth place as Charles Leclerc comes to the line and goes P1 by a tenth and a half over his teammate. But here comes Max Verstappen, who goes 0.3 of a second quicker as there's a yellow flag in sector 1. And it was Charles Leclerc going down the escape road at turn 1. Thankfully, there's a bit of room there to get going again. So Max Verstappen up to P1. And again, even though it's only practice 1, that's impressive that Verstappen is, 0.3 quicker than Leclerc when Verstappen is on the hard compound tyre and Leclerc on the medium. So good running so far from Red Bull. Let me just do the rest of the top 10. So you got Gasly in 8th, Magnussen 9th, and Alonso 10th. And then Tsunoda in 11th as here comes Daniel Ricciardo, who improves his time but stays in 4th place. You got Tsunoda 11th, and then Stroll, Vettel, Zhou in 14th. Russell, for some reason, is 15th. May have had some traffic, I don't know. And then you got Albon, Ocon, Schumacher, Bottas, Latifi. For some reason, Valtteri Bottas is stuck in the pits. Let me find out why that is. As we're currently looking at, I think this is Pierre Gasly. It is. On a timed run, possibly? I think. Nope, it's Yuki Tsunoda who improves his lap time, but he stays in 12th actually. Russell has now just improved his lap time, and Russell is now up to 9th. Now Sebastian Vettel is up to 9th place in the what do you call it? In the Aston Martin, or the Green Red Bull, whatever you want to call it. Sergio Perez is starting a new lap, by the way, on the hard compound tyre. But top 10 currently, with about 18 minutes gone in this session so far. Verstappen leading from Leclerc, Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Norris, Hamilton, Gasly, Vettel, Russell. And then it's Magnussen, Alonso, Tsunoda, Stroll, Zhou, Albon, Ocon, or Schumacher, then Ocon, and then Bottas and Latifi haven't done a lap time. But Latifi, I think, has just left the pits, which is good to see. As Sergio Perez, by the way, has done an improved first sector, as Pierre Gasly improves up to 6th place. And Perez now exits the Nouvelle Chicane. Now, through the swimming pool section, he is a 0.0 devil of a second behind Verstappen so far in this lap. There's a yellow flag in sector 3. What is that for? It's for a Haas car has stopped right before the pit entry line. I don't know who it is. I think, is it Mick Schumacher? I think it is. It is. Mick Schumacher looks to have broken down right before the pit entry line. Here's a replay of Kevin Magnussen, his teammate. Magnussen trying to turn into the exit swimming pool, losing the rear end, thankfully, took to the escape road. That would have ended up in a big crash. Funnily enough, though, for Mick, that's exactly where his dad broke down in the 2011 race, which was, 11 years ago. That's exactly where his dad broke down. And was a bit of a famous Grand Prix, that Grand Prix. As pit entry is closed, and now the red flag has come out. By the way, for anyone new to Formula 1, if the red flag comes out in practice sessions, the timer keeps running. But in qualifying, the timer would stop. Yeah, his dad's 2011 race was quite, I wouldn't say infamous, but certainly interesting. He qualified, I think, 5th on the grid, which was very impressive in the Mercedes, and then had a very bad start, and then he was racing Lewis Hamilton, I think, for the first 10 laps, and Hamilton pulled off an absolutely stonking move on Schumacher down the inside at turn 1. Did Lewis, and then Michael eventually, I think, had very bad tyre trouble, which the Mercedes car at the time did, and then eventually his car conked out exactly when Mick's car just conked out. So that is a nice, well, maybe not nice coincidence, but it's a coincidence nonetheless. This red flag shouldn't last long, to be honest. Should probably last, 5 minutes at most, I would say. Let me just look at the chat quickly as we've got a lull in the action. And here's a replay, actually. Let me just quickly see this replay. And, yeah, car just grind to a halt exactly like his dad did in that 2011 race. Yeah, let me just quickly read the chat. El Pueco, I think it is, if I mispronounce that. Sorry about that. But says, or asks, rather, what do you think about making Monaco a night or dusk under the lights race? I mean, it would make it more interesting and definitely more of a challenge for the drivers, because Monaco in the bright sunshine, daylight is hard enough. So if you did it at night, where some of the barriers and some of the corners would actually be, maybe not blind corners, but they would definitely be harder to see. So you would be kind of at times driving blind, especially at the speed they're going. I just don't think it's necessary. Plus, also, I think you could argue that there would be a safety concern with this track if it was held in nighttime conditions, because I think some parts of the track it would be actually very dark to the point where drivers might actually struggle at times to see, the barriers, or maybe at times see where they're going if, lights are not in the right position. Because I'm assuming they would just use the street lights that they have in Monaco if they were to do a night race. I can't see them being allowed to install floodlights if they were to have a night race. So yeah, I don't think it would actually be a safe race, especially when you come through that chicane through the middle of the swimming pool section. That would be pretty scary in nighttime conditions, even with a couple lights there to help you. As the session, by the way, is going to resume in a few seconds' time as Sky F1 now goes to ad break. So whilst they do that, I'm going to quickly have a look to see what you call it, why Valtteri Bottas has not come out on track yet. Let me just have a quick look to see why that is the case. They haven't said anything as of yet. about Bottas. Let me check Chris Medland's Twitter, one of the best journalists in F1. If I can spell, then I'll be able to find him on Twitter. No, can't find anything on that. And I'll just check to see with Williams why Nicholas Latifi wasn't out on track. To keep any Williams fans out there that I'm sure are out there, keep them updated as to what is going on. And no, can't see anything with that. So maybe they were just taking time over, setting up the car. Some people do think that in F1, when it comes to practice sessions, that setup work doesn't really begin until you actually go out on track. But because of all the simulator work they get through now, back at the factory with their reserve drivers and test drivers, they've already it's got to the point in F1 where they come to races and they already have a setup kind of ready-made for the car for when it goes out in practice one. So it's definitely a lot easier to to do Friday practice now than it was, say, 20 years ago, where you had to just go out there, find out what the car felt like on the track and go from there. But nowadays, it's kind of already pre-done for the drivers who, the actual race drivers, because the test and reserve drivers, like I said, they do the work in the factory in the simulator to try and see what the best way on setup is to go and how the car in general feels, that year's car feels around the track, whatever track they're going to. So that's why you don't see the struggles in a first practice session that you would see in years past. Definitely a lot easier for the drivers, but still, Monaco, even if you already have a setup, built for the car or ready for the car before the first practice session, Monaco is still a very tough track. As give it a few more seconds and we should get to the second half of practice one, as the session would have gone green again, would have resumed already. Just waiting for Sky F1 to finish this ad break quickly. And they come back now, so let's see what's going on. And we've got a car on track. It's a McLaren. Don't know what McLaren it is, but it's going pretty quick. Looks like it is Lando Norris, who goes slightly wide on the entry to the Nouvelle chicane, but gets through it just about okay enough. And his middle sector time is actually not that bad, only about 0.4 of a second off of Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, has just gone up to 4th place on the medium compound tyre. Max Verstappen, by the way, still P1 by 0.4 of a second almost on the hard compound tyre, as Lando Norris goes 3rd on his set of medium tyres. So Norris up to 3rd, Ricciardo 6th. McLaren looked to be very, very competitive, as Hamilton saying, yeah, the bouncing's crazy, mate. And then Bono saying, okay, Roger. Not good. That is not good to hear. That's not what they want to be hearing, the Mercedes team, because they thought they had it sorted. The thing is, though, I mean, Barcelona, it's not the smoothest track surface in the world or, on the calendar, but it is a lot smoother than Monaco. So if the porpoising is going to come up again, it's more likely to come up at a track like this than it is Barcelona, which is obviously a purpose-built racetrack, when Monaco is just a street. So yeah, not good for the Mercedes team, but we'll see how they get on later in this session and the weekend in general, as we're about halfway through the session, as we're now looking at an AlphaTauri, which is want to make sure I get the rest of the order correct here. Let me just quickly check. Alex Albon is actually up to 13th place in the Williams. And then you've got Lance Stroll in 14th. And then Zhou Guanyu 15th. And then Tsunoda 16th. And then Schumacher, Ocon. And then Latifi is now 19th because Latifi has done a lap time, even though it's miles off the pace, as Yuki Tsunoda comes to the line and improves to a 17.2 and goes up to 10th position. As now we're looking at Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, who's done a green, a green first and second sector, and a purple final sector, and goes second in the Mercedes. Alex Albon goes 7th on the soft compound tyre. Impressive time there from Alex, as Daniel Ricciardo now goes up to 3rd, so we're getting some improvements again. Just want to say though, guys, for anyone new watching, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because I will be live later today for 2 more streams. I'll be live again at 3:45 PM UK time for the Practice 2 watch-along, and then live tonight at 8 PM UK time for the qualifying preview stream. So don't forget to come along to those streams later. And again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for that. As Lando Norris, by the way, goes P1 in the McLaren. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And as well, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. As, yeah, Norris is now up to 1st position. It's Norris, Verstappen, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz, and then Tsunoda is now in 7th place. Zhou Guanyu has just gone up to 8th place in the Alfa Romeo on the medium compound tyre. Sebastian Vettel about to start a lap on the soft compound tyre. Albon then is in 9th place, Perez in 10th, and then you've got Gasly 11th, Russell 12th, then Vettel, Magnussen, Alonso, Stroll, Schumacher, Ocon, Latifi, Bottas. That is your order. Sebastian Vettel does not improve his first sector. Doesn't, to be honest, look like he's pushing that hard to me. Or maybe he is, but the Aston Martin car just looks that slow on this tyre. Doesn't look that quick to me. Doesn't look like he could be going, or it doesn't look like he is going maybe as quickly as he could be. Or maybe it's just these new cars make Monaco look a lot easier than it used to be. We'll see what his middle sector time looks like, but I'm pretty sure his middle sector time is going to be miles off. Yeah, it will be 2 seconds off, so he's not quite at maximum speed. But the top 3 currently separated by 0.2 of a second. And good to see McLaren and Mercedes showing some good speed. Hopefully, we'll get to see some good speed from Valtteri Bottas once he comes out on track, whenever that is. Still don't know why he hasn't come out on track. If he doesn't come out for another 10 minutes or so, then I will check again to see what the problem is, if there is a problem with Valtteri's car. As they're just showing a replay there of Sebastian Vettel going through the swimming pool. And now Max Verstappen is on a new timed run, I believe, or he's about to start one in the Red Bull. No, it's just finished one, I think, on the hard compound tyre. So, there you go. I think it was Max Verstappen. As Pierre Gasly has improved up to 8th place. And Russell has gone up to 11th place. Don't understand why Russell is so slow, unless they're splitting the session up, you know, having Russell on a bit heavier fuel. I don't know if that's what they're doing there, but Russell seems to be quite slow at the moment, as Yuki Tsunoda now goes up to 4th position. As now we're looking at Pierre Gasly. The AlphaTauris don't seem to be that slow around this track for some reason, as Gasly comes to the line and goes up to 6th. So there you go. So it's fifth. It should be fifth and sixth for the two Alpha Tauri. Sebastian Vettel has gone third, which is a reason why they should be fifth and sixth, and they are now, as Daniel Ricciardo now goes from seventh up to second. So it's now McLaren 1-2 here in practice one, with Verstappen third, Vettel fourth, Hamilton fifth, and then Tsunoda, Gasly, Leclerc, Sainz, and then Zhou in 10th. And then the rest of the order is, I think, correct on my screen. But, yeah, McLaren, look at that. First and second, a few tenths quicker than the Mercedes, by the looks of it. This is looking very good. Very, very good for the McLaren team. And like I said, that might actually be what's going on with Mercedes, is that what you call it, because this track is a bit bouncier, got a bit more bumps, it's a bit rougher. I think that might be why Mercedes are struggling with maybe a bit of porpoising. As Hamilton got so close, hitting the barriers on the exit of, can't remember what the corner's called, but it's the corner, or it's the part of the track where he hit the wall in 2008. Very close to doing it yet again. Good car control from Lewis there to keep it out of the barriers. Last thing he needed was to smash into those barriers. As we're now looking at Sergio Perez, who is on the medium compound tyre. As Kevin Magnussen has improved up to 10th place. And Russell now finally bangs in a better lap and goes 5th in the Mercedes, but still 3.5 tenths at best slower than the McLarens. As Sergio Perez only goes 13th for some reason in the Red Bull. Don't understand why that is. Considering he's on the medium, maybe he's got a bit of fuel on board. As Gasly, 2 green sectors. So this is an improved lap. He's currently in 8th place, and he's only 6 tenths of a second off the pace is Pierre. And already he's showing his class and that he's still a very good driver. And does it yet again by going up to 2nd position as Pierre. To be honest, I know it's only practice one, but given what we're seeing so far, I think we might be getting a much closer, more competitive weekend than maybe I expected. It's, the AlphaTauris and the McLarens definitely seem to be out the blocks quite quick. I mean, obviously, we don't quite know, because Valtteri Bottas isn't out there, we don't quite know what Alfa Romeo can do, but yeah, looking very good at the moment, those two teams. As Gasly just letting a car through there of a Haas, which would have been Kevin Magnussen, because Mick Schumacher is still in the pits. Hopefully, Mick can put in a competitive time, because he's currently 3.5 seconds off the pace in 17th position. Yeah, currently Norris, Gasly, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Vettel. Imagine if that was the top 5 in qualifying. That would be very, very nice, but most likely that won't be the case, as we're now looking at George Russell in the Mercedes, and he's done a purple first sector, so maybe we're starting to see now some representative speed from the Mercedes, and in the hands of this guy over a single lap, I mean, in the hands of Lewis Hamilton also over a single lap, we know that around this track a lot can be achieved, but also the same can go for George Russell, who did not do a purple middle sector, but he's only a couple hundredths of a second slower than the McLaren of Lando Norris. As he comes through the final 2 corners, opens the DRS, he'll get a slight slipstream ahead from the Aston Martin, and he goes 3rd. Definitely lost a bit of time in that final sector, which again, because of the slow corners, that's going to affect them. So, yeah, in the medium, high-speed corners, and even the straights, you could argue, this Mercedes is looking good. But in the slower corners, the Mercedes still leaving a bit to be desired. As Tsunoda has improved his first sector on his new lap, but his middle sector is not an improvement. Driving well, Tsunoda, as Sergio Perez goes 8th in the Red Bull, as Tsunoda exits the final corner and goes up to 8th. Currently, it's Norris, Gasly, Russell, Ricciardo, Verstappen, and then Vettel, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Perez, Leclerc. That is your top 10. And the rest of the order is Magnussen, 11th, and then Sainz, 12th, and then Albon, Zhou, Alonso, Stroll, Schumacher, Ocon, Latifi, Bottas. As Gasly improves his time again in second place, but is still in second. He's about 0.03 of a second slower than Lando Norris. So looking nice and competitive. By the way, hello to Gina in the chat, who asks, how is Best Ferrari looking? Oh, we haven't really, I think, at the moment seen what they can really do so far in this session. I mean, we're not going to see really until, I think, Practice 2, Practice 3, where Ferrari, you know, they'll probably be pushing a lot harder there. As Albon, very lucky as the F1 broadcast is now messing up again with their technical glitches. But Alex Albon, they just showed a replay of him locking up his rear end on the entry to the Nouvelle Chicane. We've seen drivers do that in the past and end up having big accidents, and thankfully he corrected it, held it. So good hold there from Albon, as they're having now to cut away to onboard cameras because their main broadcast is messed up again. Hopefully they get this fixed for practice 2. And of course the rest of the weekend is Russell, it looks like he's pushing on another lap on the medium compound tyre. Looks as though he's pushing pretty hard. And Mercedes' car is looking good, but not great, I would say. As he's done a purple first sector again, Russell, but has not improved his middle sector. Let's see what he does when he comes to the line. And he does not improve his time, as his final sector is too slow. As Max Verstappen, though, is about to come through and I think go P1. He's done a purple middle sector, and Verstappen comes to the line on the medium compound tyres, and he does go into first place by 3.5 of a second. And now we are seeing Charles Leclerc, I think it is, on the medium compound tyres. Not on a lap currently, but I think he's about to start. Oh no, no, this is Carlos Sainz, but no, the two Ferraris are on track, but they're not on flying laps, interestingly. I don't know why that is. Maybe they're just needing an extra lap to warm up the tyres, as Sergio Perez now goes up to second. Good session, very good session so far for Red Bull, but we'll have to see what Ferrari do to see how good of a session it's been so far for the Red Bulls. And hopefully the two Ferraris will put in a couple more fast runs, as it looks like Carlos Sainz is going for a quick run here. Here we go. Into turn 1. Hopefully no mistakes from Carlos on this lap. And he comes up now towards Casino Square. Has to make sure to hug the inside, the left-hand side, then swings on through Casino Square. Now down to Mirabeau. Very good first sector. A purple middle sector for Sainz. 1/10 of a second quicker than Max Verstappen. The middle sector, though, is where the Red Bull is at its quickest. So we'll see what he can do in that middle sector. As there's a yellow flag in Sector 1. As Carlos Sainz heads now down to the Nouvelle Chicane. And it's I think an Alpine or a Williams, I think, that's caused the yellow flag at turn 1. As Sainz is now done. Oh, dearie me. That is horrible blocking. He did a purple middle sector, came up to the exit of the swimming pool. And yes, Max Verstappen, who went deep at turn 1 and went down the escape road, Carlos Sainz did a purple middle sector, came to the exit of the swimming pool, and there were two cars, an Aston Martin and a Haas car, parked on the exit, pretty much, of the swimming pool. Horrible amount of blocking there. Carlos definitely would have gone P1 with that lap. And here's a replay of, Verstappen locking up, going into turn 1. His inside front, and then just going straight on, and then just having to wait a bit to find a way to spin back around again, which eventually he did. Charles Leclerc, by the way, has done an improved lap, but he only goes second in the Ferrari. So Leclerc into second. Perez is third now, so Norris fourth, Gasly fifth, Russell sixth, Ricciardo seventh, then Vettel eighth, Hamilton ninth, and Tsunoda 10th. And then you've got Stroll, Magnussen, Sainz, Albon, Zhou Alonso, Latifi, Schumacher, Ocon, Bottas. Sergio Perez is on an improved lap, possibly. He's done an improved first sector, but the middle sector is not quite as good as it should be if he wants to properly improve this run or his time that he's done so far. He comes to the line, though, and he does a purple final sector, does improve his time, but he does not improve his position. He's 0.111 of a second slower than his teammate. So pretty good pace there from Perez to only be that far behind his teammate. Because last year it was miles away in terms of lap time was Sergio Perez compared to Max Verstappen. As we've got 14 minutes to go here in practice 1. And we're looking at an AlphaTauri there. Starting a lap. Here's a replay of Gasly. Oh, dear. Oh, dearie me. I think he just about got away with it there, Gasly. He pulled offline to let the Aston through, and then I think he may have been told that it was okay to get back online, and then he did, but then the Aston Martin arrived, and he had to go off to let the Aston through, but it seems as though it wouldn't have distracted the Aston as much as it did for Carlos Sainz, who was just completely blocked, basically. As here is a helmet cam we're looking at on the TV broadcast of Lando Norris, who was just exiting turn 1 and going up now the hill into Casino Square. And the McLaren looks pretty good around the streets of Monaco so far. He's done a better first sector than Max Verstappen, about half a tenth quicker than Verstappen in the first sector. But it's not a purple first sector. About half a tenth slower than Sainz's purple first sector. As Norris now exits the final corner before the tunnel. Comes through the tunnel, and then the bright light hits him. Now down to the Nouvelle chicane, and he goes straight on. I think he just went a bit too quick in and decided not to bother turning in. Or he caused, an accident for himself and a bit of havoc for the other drivers. And there was a yellow flag in Sector 1. It was for a Haas of Kevin Magnussen, who went deep at turn 1. His teammate, by the way, I'm just remembering, of course, he broke down earlier in the session, so I don't think we'll be seeing Mick again in this session. Hopefully we'll be seeing some good running from him later on, as Charles Leclerc on the medium compound tyre is continuing to do some quick runs, and he's done a purple first sector. His middle sector is a tenth and a half up on Verstappen, but it's not a purple middle sector. But this should be good enough to see him go into P1 as he rounds the final corner. Slight slide out of the final corner, held it nicely. Leclerc to the line, and yes, he goes up to P1 by just under 0.2 of a second. So Charles Leclerc is quickest on a 1:14.5. Carlos Sainz looks as though he's on now a fast lap as he comes to the end of his lap. Don't know what his sector times are looking like. Hopefully not too bad. No, his first 2 sectors are not an improvement on what he's done so far. He comes to the line, though. And, well, he does improve to second place, but his first 2 sectors weren't as good as his first 2 sectors on the first flying lap he did on fresh tyres. So he could definitely go quicker than that. But, yep, Carlos up to 2nd position. So Ferrari 1-2 in the Principality. Of course, the last time that they won the Monaco Grand Prix, they got a 1-2 in qualifying Ferrari and a 1-2 in the race as well. And if you get a 1-2 in Monaco, unless you royally fuck the race up, you've pretty much guaranteed a race win at Monaco. As Magnussen locking up and going deep there. They're just showing a replay of that. Let me just update some of the order quickly with 10 minutes to go. So Leclerc leading this session from Sainz, and then Verstappen 3rd, Perez 4th, and then Norris, Gasly, Russell, Ricciardo, Vettel, Hamilton is your top 10, and then it's Tsunoda, Stroll, Alonso is up to 13th. Disappointed we haven't seen that much representative running from Alpine so far. As Alonso 13th, then Magnussen, Albon, Zhou, Latifi, Schumacher, Ocon, Bottas still in the pits. I'll try to find out what his issue is when we get to the end of the session. As Sergio Perez completes another lap, and it's an improved lap and a purple final sector, but it sees him in 2nd place, about 0.04 of a second slower than Charles Leclerc, as Carlos Sainz comes into the pits. And we might get probably one final run, I would guess, in this session. As looks as though George Russell is coming out for a final run. I just want to quickly go to Twitter, though, to check to see if there's any news on what's going on with Valtteri Bottas' car. Right, here we go. Lots of work ongoing Valtteri's car. This is from Alfa Romeo. Lots of work ongoing on Valtteri's car. A technical issue for him means we have to remove the rear end to investigate. That was tweeted 15 minutes ago, so that means that he's not going to come out on the track, I don't think. So let me check Alpine's Twitter, because Ocon has been in the pits for quite a long time as well. No, can't see anything unless they're doing setup work and they're going to send him out. Oh no, he is on track actually. He has actually done, I think, an improved time, but just still very slow. So there you go. Yeah, Valtteri Bottas hopefully will be getting out on track soon enough. So Ocon is up to, I think, yeah, Ocon's up to 17th place, but Alpine have not really done a quick run, a proper quick run so far. Maybe Alonso has, but definitely Ocon hasn't. Remember, last year, Ocon was by far the quicker driver out of the 2 Alpine drivers here in Monaco and got a pretty good result of 9th place in the Grand Prix. As there's a yellow flag again in Sector 1, which means the McLaren here won't be able to improve his lap time because a driver has gone down the escape road, and it's another Red Bull of Sergio Perez this time. And it's a common occurrence because you're trying to be as late on the brakes, obviously, as you can into that corner, but sometimes it just gets a bit too late by the time they start slamming the brakes on. And yeah, way too deep on the brakes. Locked up, I think, both front tyres there. Thankfully, spun his way round. I think now Norris, or whoever this McLaren is now on a, pushing on this lap, but it won't be a proper quick lap because he had to back off in the first sector. But McLaren, so far, are looking pretty good. 5th and 8th. I mean, if they were to get that in qualifying, that would be pretty much the best you could hope for, I think, realistically. But of course, we need to still see, can Mercedes make some improvements? Are the Mercedes, do Mercedes have more to show than what they've shown so far? And also, again, with Valtteri Bottas, we'll have to see what he can do, because he is a dark horse for the weekend still, I think, Valtteri. But missing practice 1, that is going to cost him, because obviously puts him an hour behind everyone else. Hopefully, if they get the car fixed in between practice 1 and practice 2, they'll be able to get him out and do as many laps as possible, 20 laps or so in practice 2, which would catch him up a bit on the others. As we're now looking at Fernando Alonso on the TV broadcast with 5.5 minutes to go. Fernando currently in 13th place, and last year was a very bad race for him. He was 17th, I believe, in qualifying, and then had a very good start to the race, got his way up to 13th, but didn't go any higher up the field than that because he got held up in traffic behind Ricciardo and Raikkonen. As his teammate, like I said, Ocon, ended up coming through to finish in 9th. As here is Daniel Ricciardo on an improved run. He's done a green first sector, so an improved first sector. Let's see what he does for the middle sector. It's not an improved middle sector, but this could see him, if he has a good final sector, this could see him go up to 7th place ahead of Russell. As Carlos Sainz there was on an improved run. Did a purple first sector, but then has jumped the Nouvelle chicane, so he's had to back off. And Daniel Ricciardo comes to the line, and he does do a good final sector. And Daniel Ricciardo is up to 7th. So 5th and 7th for the two Maccas. And Sainz just going too deep. And understeering away from the apex, which is pretty much the barrier. As Sergio Perez comes into the pits. Looks as though both Red Bulls are coming into the pits and will be not coming back out again. The two Ferraris, though, still on track. And it's a shame for Sainz that he wasn't able, to complete that lap. Because, of course, he, when he was held up about 10 minutes ago on that lap he was doing, it's meant that we're not able really to see the true potential of what he could do in this session. As Leclerc there, just jumping the chicane to let through, I think, Lando Norris? No, Daniel Ricciardo it was. He was letting through. Who I think is probably just coming back to the pits, as Lando Norris has come back to the pits in his McLaren. But at the moment, after practice 1, you'd have to say Ferrari and Red Bull are definitely clearly ahead of the rest of the pack. And then, unless Mercedes shows something in practice 2, it looks as though it's a very competitive field between McLaren, Mercedes, AlphaTauri, and possibly, if Valtteri Bottas gets out there and shows the type of pace we think he can, maybe him as well. Very interesting indeed in that upper midfield part of the grid. But again, let's see in practice 2 whether Mercedes can show the extra speed that, say, we were expecting from them this weekend. As Charles Leclerc, he's pushing on this lap. He's not improved his first sector, though, so we'll see what he can do for the middle sectors to see whether this will improve on his best time so far of a 1:14.5, I believe. He is still in P1, though, and I don't think there's anyone out there who's really going to go any quicker than him. And no, jumps the chicane. There's Charles Leclerc. So with 2 minutes to go, I think that's probably Leclerc's session done with, as they're just showing on the speed trap. The two Williamses at the top of the speed trap, with Charles Leclerc in 3rd. But the speed traps around here don't matter one iota. As Lewis Hamilton again on radio. Bad news for you Mercedes fans, saying it's so bouncy out here, man. I'm fucking losing my mind. Yeah, like I said, I think that's what's happening. I think because this track is definitely bumpier and rougher than the Circuit de Catalunya track, I think that's why they're suffering a bit more with the bouncing. Which is something I remember, I think, was it Alex Albon, I think, said in the winter that the certain tracks they go to where it's a bit bumpier will actually cause the field to swap around a bit, which actually has turned out to be the case. So, nice bit of analysis there from Alex Albon from the winter. And it does look as though, from Mercedes' point of view, that is the case. That this track is the bumps in certain places is affecting the grip of their car. It certainly will be up towards the Casino Square. And also, other places that will affect them will probably be down to the Nouvelle Chicane. And probably through the swimming pool as well is where it will affect them with that bouncing. As Leclerc here, I think, is completing a final timed run, but I don't think he'll go any quicker. And no, he goes 1.6 seconds slower than his previous best lap time. As Lewis Hamilton again on the radio saying, need elbow pads in this cockpit, it's bouncing so much. Not good news at all for Lewis Hamilton, or of course, Mercedes fans. Blade Rise asks, any very early Q3 lap time predictions? I think they'll probably be in the 1 minute, either the 1 minute 10s or 1 minute 11s. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. As the session is now over, but we'll see if anyone can get in a final run before the flag. Not before the flag, but before their session is officially over. Carlos Sainz comes to the line and does not improve, and I think everyone else will just come to the line and not improve their lap times, I believe. But yeah, not good news for Mercedes. The porpoising is still happening around this old, bumpy, famous racetrack, the most famous of them all. As Charles Leclerc just comes to the line to complete his session. And let's just see if anyone else will complete a time. The only other people that could, maybe a Latifi, Tsunoda, Gasly. Let me just see if they do anything. And no, Tsunoda comes to the line. Gasly pits, and who cares about Nicholas Latifi? No disrespect. So that is, guys, the end of practice 1. Thank you guys for coming along to this watch along. I will be live again in an hour and 45 minutes from now for the practice 2 watch along. Of course, practice 2 should be a more representative session for qualifying tomorrow. So make sure to come along to my practice 2 watch along again at 3:45 p.m. UK time in an hour and 45 minutes from now. And again, I'll be live later tonight to preview qualifying at 8 p.m. UK time. So make sure to come along to those 2 streams later today. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there as well. Don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And don't forget as well to follow me on Twitter at ShazHD5. And as well, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description if you want to join our community. And also, if you want to, get notifications for my videos and streams, the Discord server is a pretty good place for that. So guys, until my practice 2 watch along in an hour and 45 from now, it has been me, Shazza HD. Goodbye.